Yours. Hit that one more time. I am the number one determinant of the success or failure. Here we go. Of my students. Hey, y'all, you have a strong summer. Kick some butt next year. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate you. That's the mindset. That's the attitude. Love you guys.
And we are live. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to week 117 of the virtual AP Leadership Academy. Let me see who we got in here this morning. Here we go. Here we go. We got Marsha Poe in the building all the way from San Diego. We got Demetrius Scott, my man, Pamela Marcus, Donna Sharagant holding it down. Good morning to you. Dr. Sheikah Houston's in the building. My wife, the queen, Kimberly Broughton Kafele, is here. Central Hicks is in the building. My man, Darnell McElveen is in the building. My man, brother Principal Sean Hurt is in the building. Principal Dot McKeever Jeter is in the building. Adrian Young, Rashard Davis bringing the fire from hot Las Vegas. We got Cindy Jones in the building. Latanya Allen Chambers. Glenelle Mack is in the building. Create and Educate from South Carolina. That's Dr. Houston and Principal Tammy Taylor. Rodney Richardson, Melissa Jones, Chunu, Cynthia Farmer, Michelle Perkins Griffin, S.J. Jones, James Wilburn. They're all in the building. My man, Golfar WT, Alan Cowart. My man, Principal Michael Benton is in the building. Principal Carlos Baggage is in the building. Nancy Asagi is in the building. Nicole White, Jasmine Harris, Janine Wilkins bringing it in from Alaska. Kimberly Wilkerson, let's see. Danielle Capehart is in the building. Karen Fletcher, Renee Graham, Lakia Paris, Stacy Wetzel, Lily Lanier, Yolanda McKinney is in the building. Educator K, my man Scott Savage in the building. I got all that info to you too last night. Elaine Hirsch is in the building. Donna Daughtry Soul is in the building. Cynthia Brewer, Lori Phillips, Houston. It's almost that time, y'all. Keep it coming. When you come in, hit that share button. Don't forget, hit that share button, hit that retweet button. Let them know it's that time that we bring them flames. On Saturday morning, we got MPA Jaguars. That's my man, Principal Josh Tovar. You know I wanted to have that dinner with you last week, Josh, but I did 5 states last week. Man, I'm lucky that I even know my name at the end of the day. I'm being honest with you. I'm lucky I know what city and state I'm in. Yolanda Nesbitt's in the building. Jennifer, I think I said this one. Jennifer, no, I didn't. Jennifer Mortvit Mapes is in the building. Tracy Gray, Kathy Delamonte, Lysandra Brackens is in the building. Latanya Reed is in the building. I'm almost ready. Tangi C, Noemi Natal, I think it is. Valejas, where we at? Travis Moore is in the building. Bev Hill is in the building. We got someone that doesn't use their name. It just says Facebook user. I see that person every week, though. You here. One day you're going to disclose your identity so I can call you by your name. Shakita Jeffries is in the building. My man, Sean Smith is in the building. He'll be up on this platform soon himself. Kimberly George, Alexis Bowie, Sonia Green, Shannon, Shauna L. Pointer, Wilson is in the building. Hey, y'all, hit the share button, hit the retweet button. You know I bring dynamite people on this platform. Well, I got some dynamite here today. Rachel Wells is in the building. So let me just end the shout outs. It's 11:01 and say to you formally, good morning. Greetings. Welcome to week 117. Woo! And I don't know about you, I should say, of the virtual AP Leadership Academy week 117. And, I don't know about you. I say that every week, but actually, I think I do know because you're here. You checked in, not just the people on the thread, but the folks who just kind of watch without putting comments on the thread. But I'm going to let you know, I haven't let you know my feelings in a little bit because, I had to pass to my brother-in-law, but, I'm getting back to it. And I just want you to know, as we start today's session, that I'm on fire. And I got to give it to you like that every week. I took a break for about 3 or 4 weeks from that, maybe more. But I need you to know, because I'm in this work, man. You're in this work. And you got to bring a certain level of energy, excitement, enthusiasm, passion for what you do and for whom you do it for. You got to. I don't want you to confuse that with being charismatic either. I'm just saying there's a certain energy that's got to come with the work. So just as a reminder, if you didn't hear me, let me say it to you one more time, that I'm on fire. Woo! Whew. I had to get that out of me, y'all. Been bottled up in me for about a month. I had to get it out of me, right? And some of y'all understand that, and others will never understand it. I want to just real quick shout out to National Association of Elementary School Principals, which is where I started my week last Sunday. Moved on to Lawrence Township Public Schools in Indianapolis. Moved on to Wilmington, North Carolina to speak at the North Carolina Charter Schools Conference. Then went back to Indiana for Indiana Public Schools. And then wound up in Dallas at the SREB, Southern Regional Educational Board Conference, making schools work, where I was the closing keynote. So what a week, 5 states. I'm here, Trelane Clark. I hear you. I see you out there. Good to see you. Good to see you, bringing it from Boston. So good to be back. I'm home today, and I'm back out for 5 tomorrow, right? So pray for your boy. My quick message to you is in the form of a question. Are you excited about the prospects for the new school year? Let me ask you that again. Are you excited for the prospects for the new school year? I asked that to a couple of my audiences this week, and I said, look, don't respond. I just want you to hold up the mirror, and I want you to reflect, right? Just reflect. Are you excited for the prospects, right? I didn't say excited to get back. That's a different question. Are you excited about the prospects for the new school year? Is there something about knowing that 22-23 is coming, that it's approaching, that we're on the precipice? Some of you. Others is a long way off, like September, right? But some of us, it's like next week, the week after, that type of thing. Are you excited for the prospects of what you and your students and your staff leaders can achieve because you are in a leadership capacity? I just want you to reflect on that question, and don't leave that question for today, the here and now. Refer back to that question regularly, ongoing. Am I excited? Am I passionate? Am I eager to get back in there? And if your answer is not yet, then you got to hold a mirror like up close, right? And ask yourself, why not? Why am I not excited for the prospects of what we can accomplish with young people moving forward? So enough there. Hey, y'all, welcome to all the first timers. I see a lot of names I don't know every week. Welcome to you. Don't let this be your last. Tell somebody. We here every Saturday at 10:55. So let them know. Tell them don't come on here after my announcements. Come on here before them at 10:55. So welcome to the first timers. You can go to my YouTube channel, Virtual AP Leadership Academy, and catch up on the 116 sessions that you missed, right? They're all sitting there. Subscribe to it, and that's important. Hit that red button, subscribe, and be a part of the family. Congrats to all them first timers getting these jobs, man. Woo! It's a lot of y'all. You've been, man, folks, as soon as I walked into some of these conferences, it was crazy too. This past week, it's kind of normal, but this is conference season for speakers, right? For educators, I should say. And you just walk into the building, it's like, yo, Principal Kafele, thank you. Woo! Thank you. I got the job. I'm now the AP. I got the job. I'm now the principal. Can we get this picture? Right? One of the conferences, I still had my bag and my suitcase in my hand, man. Principal Kafele, my friend, one of them, I didn't even walk in. I was outside walking in. Principal Kafele, I got the job. I got the job. I said, there you go. Bam. Can we get this pic? Yeah, let's do it. Right? So I'm saying to you, congratulations. If you're on here right now and you're one of them, put your name, put something in there to say, I got the job, so that everybody else can congratulate you and wish you success moving forward. I'm almost ready to bring my guest up, but my last 3 books, my most recent 3, I always got to put these on here. The Equity and Social Justice Education 50. If you don't have this book yet, man, Critical Questions for Improving Outcomes and Opportunities for Black Students. Come on, man. Get your copy. It's a bestseller, but I want everybody to have it. But this is my baby right here. That Equity book, I love that book, but this is my baby, man. This my baby. The Assistant Principal 50, right? I'm so immersed into the assistant principalship. We're getting ready to write volume 2 in September, volume 3 next September, volume 4 the September after that, right? So every September, however long it takes, it usually takes me no more than 2 months, depending on my schedule. But we're gonna go to volume 2, man. But if you don't have volume 1, hey, what you waiting for? Get your hands on this book. Principles as well, because it's going to talk about how you using your assistant principal and if it's consistent with my recommendations. And then lastly, the Aspiring Principal 50. If you aspire to become an AP, if you aspire to become a principal, I wrote this for you, right? So those 3, I got 5 others sitting here. We ain't going through all that. I just want you, those 3. Let's see. Am I ready? Yeah, I am. I'm rocking an alternate jersey today, black Yankees. When I say alternate, all I wear on here is Negro League jerseys, but this is not what they wore, the Black Yankees. They didn't have no black shirt, right? They had a white shirt, and it didn't say Black Yankees. It said New York. But I got this one from somewhere. It looked nice, right? It's not authentic, but I said it. I like the way I look in it, so I said, let me get it anyway. Let me spend the $75 and look good on a Saturday morning in this black jersey that says Black Yankees. But again, the official Black Yankee shirt says New York with pinstripes, right? So not to be confused with a New York Yankees jersey, because theirs wouldn't say New York at home. It would be an NY insignia. Somebody's saying, why? That's too much information, man. So let's go. I got a guest today, man. I only bring on superstars. Everybody I bring on here because I want them to be able to talk life, leadership life into who we got here. So let me bring up my guest here, man. I got Mr. Ankrum, man. I got Ray Ankrum in the building. Hey, my brother, good morning to you.
Blessings, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate you. I see you shouting out the Black Yankees, so I got to shout out my guy, Sharif El Mekki at the Center of Black Education. We need black teachers.
We need black He got it. Hey, Sharif, I don't know if you out there or not, but if you are, I need one of them shirts like yesterday. I'm going on the cruise on August 5th. I need to be able to rock that on the cruise, man. So so Sharif, if you out there, I'll give you my address. Hook me up, man. Hook me up. I need to wear that on that cruise ship, right? And all them islands that I'm gonna be walking around on while I'm out there. So I need that, man. Hey, Ray, man, I'm glad you answered the call to be on here. Let me share with the folks who you are before we jump into it. Ray Ankrum is a firm believer that education can be the catalyst to eradicate generational poverty. As a first-generation college student, he utilized education to escape the school-to-prison pipeline and graduated from the University of Stony Brook with a Bachelor of Arts in African American Studies and a master's degree in professional studies. Post September 11, 2002, Ray decided that he wanted to become a classroom teacher and attended Morgan State University to obtain his Master of Arts in Social Studies education. Ray taught U.S. history, world history, global history, and American government for 4 years in the Baltimore City public school system. While in the Baltimore City public school system, Ray served as a building representative for the Baltimore City Teachers Union. In 2007, Ray got his experience in charter schools, accepting a dean of students position at Democracy Prep Public Charter School. After a year at DP, he brought his talents to Harlem Village Academies. In 2010, he earned his EDM from Teachers College, Columbia University, and shortly after was named principal at Harlem Village Academies. In 2012, he accepted the role of executive director of Riverhead Charter School, and after a successful school turnaround campaign, was named superintendent in 2017. That's a whole lot in a short period of time. So congratulations, and your best is still yet to come.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Ray, I got these 3 questions that I ask everybody to launch us, because everybody's got a different perspective on this. So, and obviously for the first question, so Ray, as an educator, who is Ray Ankrum? Like, who are you?
Man, I'm from the people, man. So I'm from within, right? And so I saw how education can kind of change lives, right? Because like it's really easy to take that wrong turn, right? To take that left turn when you're supposed to take a right turn, right? I saw folks in my neighborhood that weren't doing things the right way, but were still experiencing success. So it's really easy to kind of think like, hey, I can do it the easy way and still be successful, right? But I didn't want to do it the easy way. I wanted to do it the right way. And so with that, I focused on education and let it pour into me, let my teachers pour into me so that I can pour into others.
Wow. So consistent with that, you kind of answered it, but I'm gonna still give you the specificity of the question. What made you, of all the things that you could have done beyond what you just said, why education? Why not engineering? Why not architect? Why not computer science? Why education?
Yeah. So funny thing, man. I was doing human resources on Long Island, and then I was like, man, let me go and substitute teach. And so I went to substitute teach in an affluent school district, right? 3 Village school district if you're from New York. And so I went in, I saw these white kids, and I'm like, damn, man, they have everything, right? And so with them having everything, it made me realize they didn't really need me because they had everything they needed, right? And so then I thought to myself, I'm like, hey, what if I went and taught somewhere where they needed me?
Mm.
And so ended up getting an email from Baltimore City Public Schools, right? And then I was like, hey, listen, I'm out, right? And so ended up going down to Baltimore, teaching at the historic Lake Clifton Eastern High School, which no longer is in existence, but had fun. And so I'm glad that I took the challenge.
Wow. I did a little work in Baltimore in terms of consulting, and got to just feel that vibe down there. I was at Frederick Douglass High School and a couple other places. Yeah. Great principal down there too. I don't know if he's still in that building, but it's just interesting how, as you move about the country and city to city, it's not all the same. It's a lot of challenges that overlap, but the experience is very different. So Baltimore, just in the short time that I was there in that capacity, I felt some of those differences, say from Newark or from New York, in some of the areas around where I am now. Here you are in leadership. And as I ask everybody, some of us have very specific reasons as to why we went into leadership. Mine was very specific. It was to inform, empower, and to inspire Black boys. I knew I was going to have half the school was going to be young ladies, but they weren't my why. My why was these boys, rooted in my own upbringing and my own development. And I said, I want to position myself as a building leader that I can change the experiences for these young men. So I ask you, when you consider the reasons that you transitioned into leadership, was there anything that kind of superseded everything else that you said, yeah, I want to lead for this reason, and this reason, but this reason is a game changer? Did you have one of those at all?
So I did. So a couple, right? So the first one, and this is probably gonna be similar for like all black men, is black boys, right? And so knowing how you grew up and wanting to change that narrative for other young black men that are coming through the pipeline, right? But the second thing for me was spirit dimming. Like I wanted to stop the spirit dimmers from being able to kind of take the power over black and brown kids, right? And so what I mean by spirit dimmers is that, you get in the classroom and you'll see some of these teachers that are just like they just don't like kids,
Yeah,
right? And so my job was just to, want to get as many of those folks that don't really like kids, that don't really love the joy of teaching, that don't really understand how impactful this education can be for scholars, especially historically marginalized students, is to get them as far away from education as humanly possible.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That language that you just used, spirit dimmer, right?
Yeah.
Hey, folks out there on the call or who will see the video later, write that down. Get your pen out. Spirit dimmer. I've never heard that before. That's new to me, right? And but it's a powerful term. Spirit dimmer. Imagine youngster walks into the classroom and there's a spirit dimmer in the room. Imagine a youngster walks into the building and there's a leader to greet him or her as a spirit dimmer. So my spirit was already dim because of just the reality of life, the challenges of life, and now you dimmed it more. Hey, somebody out there, are you a spirit dimmer or do you bring about light, man? Which one are you? Hey, Ray, you majored in African American studies.
Yes, sir.
That jumped out at me when I read your bio last week. And before you made the decision, you studied that before you made the decision that you wanted to teach. So my question to you, because see all these books here and the rest of the house, that's all that is African American stuff. That's only books I got in addition to the education books. What was the motivation behind your decision to study African American studies?
Man. So so I grew up in or was brought up in some educational systems that didn't really like show the magnificence of our people.
Right.
And so, for my first 15 years, I was in Covington, Louisiana, right outside of New Orleans. And very rarely did we hear anything good about Black people in the curriculum, right? So I didn't see myself in the curriculum. And so when I moved to New York, it got a little better. My senior year, we had a intro to African American Studies elective, but it was taught by a white man, right? And so when I got to college and I took my first AFS class, and I realized, like, wait, I come from greatness, right? Like we come from greatness, like Black people come from greatness. I couldn't do anything else but to study that, right? Like I had to become a master of our history in terms of being able to deliver that message to other folks that aspire to know where we come from.
That I had the same experience, man. I get to undergrad school after practically rotting away for the past 10 years. I get to undergrad and literally stumble. I never took a course in African American or any African American studies or African studies. I just was this independent reader. You may know of a store that used to be up in Harlem called Liberation Bookstore.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, on Lenox, which is now Malcolm X Boulevard. I lived there. I mean, I lived in that store. Every Saturday, I'm buying like handfuls of books, armfuls of books, and I'm reading. I got so deeply immersed in it, I couldn't even accept my name anymore. I bought this name, right? Baruti meaning teacher, and Kafele meaning worth dying for, which I spun it to say the struggle for the liberation of our children is worth dying for. So I understand what you're saying in terms of coming into that understanding of wow, like I didn't know. I didn't know we did all this. I didn't even know about the struggles, let alone the victories, right? So it was just so eye-opening, and that's what I became. So talk to us then about how the researching, the studying, the learning, the processing, and the digesting of African American history changed you as a
Yeah.
person.
Yeah. So a lot of inner conflict in terms of just like who I am as a person because like I mean I think you know, not having the agency to go out and like buy my name and like,
Yeah.
kind of resurface into the situation or whatever, right? But then always having that hunger to know like where did my family come from? And this is prior to Ancestry, prior to 23andMe, prior to any of those things, right? It's like you could go down the line and you could like it stops somewhere, right? Now you're able to go way further, right? But always just wanting to know like, what tribe I came from, or like
Mhm.
what part of Africa I came from, right? And so, you know, uh when you get into higher ed, you meet all sorts of people, right? So I began to make friends with people from Ghana, and they were like, "Your name Ankrum, right? It comes from Ghana, right?" And so like starting to learn more about myself, starting to be more curious about where we came from, right? And so I think when you engage with other people, it just sparks your curiosity. And as an educator, you should always want to be curious about knowledge.
Because and it's interesting what you said about your name, because when I learned about you before I met you, because I used to see you on Twitter, and then I met you when I was on with Rashawn on his platform, and that's kind of how you and I met. But when I saw it, I thought it was like a word I didn't know, because I'm seeing Ankh,
Mhm.
and so I'm thinking, okay, man, he got this royal name Ankh, and then with the RUM, so I said maybe I need to figure out what that is, right? And then I found that I was mispronouncing it and all that kind of stuff. But I'm saying this for the first time publicly. But that Ankh thing, every time I look at you, every time I see you, I'm thinking Ankh, that symbol of life, because of the way I initially saw you through your last name, right? So
Appreciate you.
oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. So in terms of the young people, folks that know me know that with every fiber of my being, I believe, and I had the opportunity to demonstrate it, but I believe that when Black children are exposed to their history, to their story, through
Mhm.
curriculum and instruction, it is a game changer, particularly when the right people are teaching those courses that understand it, that can feel it, that can practically personify it, as opposed to someone who doesn't have an emotional attachment to it.
Mhm.
But when they're exposed to it, where it's not in a February add-on, but
Mhm.
it's just natural part of curriculum and instruction of learning, to me, that changes the game. And I was blessed to have a leader that allowed me to implement it, and I saw the way it changed the game. So my question is a broad one for you. What are your thoughts on that contention?
Man, so again, game changer, right? Like I see how black and brown kids respond to seeing themselves in the curriculum, right? It's like, you can do little add-ons in February, but that's nothing because I feel
Right.
like, Black history is every month. Black history, if you're doing it the right way, you living it every day, right? So like, for kids to be able to see themselves outside of February, right? And know that, royalty exists in their bloodline, right? I think that is important. And so, you see me, we need black teachers, we need the right black teachers,
That's right.
but if we get the right black teachers in place, then it changes the game for everyone, right? Not just for black kids, but for everybody. The research tells us that, everybody benefits from having a black teacher. So
Yeah, absolutely. I want to jump into your work now. You went on and took on this leadership role at Harlem Village Academy.
yeah.
And I love me some Harlem. I used to spend a heck of a lot of time there, not all over Harlem, but primarily within the vicinity of, say, Lenox or Malcolm X Boulevard, 125th Street, all that area.
Hmm.
Just spend a lot of time out there for a variety of different reasons. But I got these 8 questions that are all falling under one question that I devised the way I did, because I want to pose these questions to you, but I want the audience, I want you all to hear me well on this. I want you all to think of these questions coming at you, right? So to the audience out there, as I ask Ray these questions, I want you to internalize these questions as they relate to you, and then hear what kind of answer he gives relative to himself. So talk to us about the transition from classroom teacher to school administrator. And first, so my first one, were you prepared for this new challenge of life in the classroom? In your case, life as union leader, to now you are leading children and adults. Audience, think about that question for yourself as Ray answers the question.
So I think I was prepared. And the reason why I was prepared is because I was the principal of my classroom, right? And so what I say by that, being the principal of my classroom, is that I handle everything that happened in my classroom within my classroom. So I wasn't sending anybody to the office. I wasn't, I didn't need you to come in and make calls for me. I didn't need you to do any of that stuff, because I realized that the power that I have. And so I also realized that, you see power when you send kids out of the classroom. You see power when you have disciplinary problems that you can't handle and that you need somebody else to handle, right? And I didn't want to give anybody else my power.
Mm-hmm.
But then also, one of the things that I learned in terms of being a good classroom teacher is that, a lot of the problems that exist in the classroom, you can solve by having a quality lesson. And I know that may sound cliche, but like, if you are touching all of those learners in that classroom, then nobody's trying to act up in your classroom. They're actually pretty excited to be into your classroom, right?
Yeah.
Like, I would get kids that would come from next door where it may have been a little bit unruly, but they knew the expectations that I had for them. They knew that bar was here.
Yeah.
Right. And so they had to reach that bar, and by coming in and doing what they needed to do, they knew my expectations.
Yeah.
And so my expectations when I became a building leader did not change. It still was the same expectations, except now I didn't really have, I still had the highest expectations for my students, but I also now had high expectations for those that I work with, my colleagues. Now my expectations were super high. I think that, even as a union, even as a building union leader, there's you're kind of sucked into maybe accepting the status quo in some ways, shapes, and forms, right? Because it's like, those are your colleagues. You can't really tell them what to do or whatever. You can give them like guidance, but you can't necessarily, like, because they don't report to you. But it's different when you're a principal, because now they report to you, and now you're responsible for kids' lives. And so that was like a major transition.
But that principal in the classroom, principal of your classroom, I should say, that's a powerful way to make, and mindset for folks out there listening, a powerful mindset to help with that transition, to make it as seamless as possible, because you're seeing yourself as leader, principal of your classroom, before you become principal of a building. I kept this comment on the screen deliberately. This is one of my former students from back in, I would say, approximately 1994. So one of my fifth graders in 1994, Kendra Bullock, where she says, this is true. I'm a witness, Mr. Kafele. You did this for us in elementary school. You definitely taught us outside of that textbook, right? Forever grateful. And that's because I understood the power in this. I understood it. And that's what we did. Hey, Kendra, good to see ya. That second one, Ray, did you find that leading adults was a challenge at all?
It's the ultimate challenge in education, right? It's like, you have no problems with the kids. The kids, they come ready to learn. They come ready to do what you're asking them to do. It's the adults that are the problem. I feel like, and I don't want to get caught up, but sometimes it's like the adults are more of the kids than the kids are the kids, right? And so, dealing with that. But I think that, one of the ways in which, you kind of, get out of folks behaving like kids is setting really high expectations, right? Like, your expectations have to be unwavered, right? You got to be unbendable, because at the end of the day, even though you deal with adults, you're there for kids, right? And I think that as long as you keep that focus, that all of your decisions are rooted in the best interest of students, you can't go wrong. And if you do go wrong, then there's a higher power that'll get you back on track, right? Because it's for the kids.
So, let me go off script for a minute. This is not part of this 8 under this particular question. So you're a new leader in a building, and you think your focus is on children, but you find out very quickly that there are a multiplicity of issues that you need to address and deal with the adults in the building, and that's not just your certificated staff. That's across the board, right? So because there's so many new people that watch, Ray, and so many aspiring people that watch, how does this person just maneuver being the instructional leader, wanting to engage young people, but having to deal with adult issues and concerns at the same time as a rookie that has never led adults in their life? How do I balance all that?
Okay, so the first thing that I'm gonna say is something that I didn't have, right? But like any new leader that I come in contact with, is get yourself a coach, right? Get yourself that has been through these situations to where you can now team build and like bounce ideas off of them, right? It's like we get so arrogant when we get this position of principal to where we don't reach down or like ask for help, right? You should be asking for help. That's the number one thing that you should be doing as a building leader, is building community with folks that have experienced the same things that you're going to experience, so that you don't have to go through this road by yourself, right? You don't have to go down this road alone. And so I think building healthy relationships with also building healthy relationships with folks in your building that are doing the right things, right? And so like getting in classrooms, like that's, man, listen, because you got so many people that think that being a principal is sitting behind a desk and answering emails. You need to be in those classrooms, right? You said one key word and you always say it, and I love you and I love it when you say it, is a school leader being an instructional leader, right? You have to be an instructional leader. And so for me, it's like it's important that you go through the steps of progression in order to become a school leader. Some people don't, some people skip some steps or whatever, right? And they're able to maneuver and hire folks that can kind of come in for their blind spots. But like, you have to be a teacher. You have to be an assistant principal. You have to be a principal, right? Like you have to be a coach, right? You have to, those are all the things that you need to be able to do in order for folks to, one, respect you as being their instructional leader, right? Because like you can call yourself an instructional leader, but if folks don't respect it, then it's only going to go but so far.
That's
right. And so I feel like you got to be able to get your hands dirty. Your staff needs to see you getting your hands dirty. And once they do, then it's like you're modeling what you expect for kids, right? And so once you begin to model these things that you expect for kids, then hey, it's open shop.
I love it. I love it. You know, I keep on putting, and I'm doing this for the audience. My former student, I gotta I gotta hit this real quick, Ray, because I want to make a point here. Kendra said, you didn't play. You actually cared and loved us. I remember you coming to my house because I was missing assignments.
Yes,
Best
sir.
teacher ever. I wish my children had you. Now I'm sharing this with my audience, our audience this morning, to say we talking about leaders in this audience. And imagine when your coaching of teachers is such that the student 10, 20, 30 years later is still remembering that impact that you made at that time. So that coaching relationship you have with that teacher, this is a part of it, because you want to create memories, right? You know, like, just like like places like Disney, you want to create memories so that when youngster thinks on you later, or if they even think about you 10, 20, 30 years, and what it is that you were able to do in relationship to them, with them, that your actions, your words, they mattered. That matters. I had to put that up there just to make that.
Yo, 100%. It's like the best phone calls that I get is from teachers that have taught that have worked with me, that have become school leaders, that are like, hey, I became a school leader because I saw how you embraced the job, right? And it motivated me to want to be a leader. Those are the best. Those are the best calls.
Those are the best calls, right? I love it. Hey, Ray, we're going back to your transition with these 8 questions. What impact did your leadership have? And I don't mean your leadership today, but going back then, what impact did your leadership have on the instructional program?
Man, so that's a really good question, and thanks for asking. So when I came into teaching, so I was a beginning teacher, and I came into a department where no one had less than 10 years of experience in Baltimore City. And Baltimore City had this test that was called the HSA, the high school assessment, right? And so American government was one of those classes that was tracked by Maryland at that time. And no one wanted to teach American government because they knew that those results would be attached to them professionally, right? And so I remember my department chair coming in and was like, "Hey, you're going to teach American government." And I'm sitting, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, why would I be teaching American government? I don't know anything. Like I don't know anything. All I know is like my content or whatever. But why would you have me teaching American government? And then as I thought about it, I'm like, oh, they don't want to be tracked, right? And so the results were like the results from the year prior were really low. And so I started thinking outside of the box in terms of like, all right, well, is it an exposure thing? Are these kids not getting it because they're not exposed to the content? Do they not know how to take tests? Because I just got out of college. I just took these practices. Like I know how to take tests, so I can teach them how to take tests. And lo and behold, at the end of the year, man, we had a 25% increase in American government from a first year teacher. Like I wasn't supposed to be able to do that, right? I wasn't supposed to be able to come in and do that. And so, but now that I'm thinking about it, I was supposed to be able to come in and do that because that's what I was there for. I was there to push them. I was there to motivate them. I was there to test them. I was there to, to build them up, to build their capacity, right? And so I took that lesson with me my whole career. It's like, we're not going to come up in here and talk about what kids can't do, right? Because we know that they can do it. And like, I had that experience to now know that our kids could do it. We just have to believe in them. Right. And so like, from the classroom to leadership, I believe in these kids.
Yeah.
And if you don't believe in these kids, then our spirits ain't gonna align.
Gotta believe in them. And think about it. There's this framework I created, and one of the strands is called attitude towards students. And it asks a simple question: do I believe in them? With the mirror. Do I believe in them? Tweaked. What do I believe about them? Tweak one more time. What do I believe about myself as it relates to them? That belief in young people, that belief about young people, is critical. And then that belief about myself. What if I'm looking in my mirror and I don't think I can connect with this one, that one, this one? Then I got work to do, or else there's no justification for me being there in the first place. I'm gonna skip one of these because you answered it in a question. So what did you do? And again, I'm talking about younger you, right?
Yeah.
For the benefit of this audience, what did you do as this new leader to keep the morale at a high level, or to increase the morale of staff with this new leader in the building?
Yeah. So admittedly, I did a lot of things wrong.
But see, that's what I want to get at,
Yeah.
right? For the
Yeah.
benefit of people who are new watching this.
Yeah, I did a lot of things wrong, and it takes me back to what I said earlier in terms of like having that mentor, having that coach, so that you can bounce ideas off them, right? Like I did a lot of things that would have been a motivating factor for me, right? And it's kind of like how we teach sometimes. Like we teach how we learn, right? And then sometimes we lead how we want to be led, and not taking into account the other folks that you're leading and how they want to be led, right? And so I would have did a whole lot more work in terms of like building that rapport with folks before you're asking them to like jump in front of a car for you, right? And so I feel like being reflective in terms of who you are as a leader, understanding that you're not going to get it right all the time. Matter of fact, you're not going to get it right a lot of the times, right? But being willing to go in and roll up your shirt sleeves and want to do better for kids every day. And so I didn't get a lot of things right in the beginning, right? But like everything was a growth process for me, right? So like everything was like an opportunity for growth. And so if I didn't get it right, I will definitely come back. And how the best teachers will say, "I'm sorry" to the kids. The best leaders will say, "I'm sorry" to the adults, right? Like, "I'm sorry, I got this wrong. I'm sorry I didn't come to you in order to make this better. I'm sorry that I didn't come to you in order to hear your thoughts or hear your perspectives on things," right? Because a lot of times, you will have some really good ideas, but it's the implementation piece, right? And it's like folks don't want things done to them; they want things done with them, right? And so coming in and getting that feedback from teachers, even though at the end of the day you're going to get them where you need to be, they need to be a part of that process though, right? And so that was a growth point for me coming into school.
I so appreciate you being transparent and vulnerable, because that's the intent of these particular questions, because there are some people out here watching who will see it later and haven't been doing this work long yet, and they may think, I got to be right all the time. And if I am wrong, I can't let anybody know I'm wrong. No, part of your leadership is being wrong, right? Because you're learning from those mistakes. I thank God every day of all the mistakes I made, as long as I was able to learn from the mistakes that I made. Now, if I'm going to go on and just repeat the same bad actions all the time, then I'm not taking advantage of the opportunity to grow. So somebody out there watching right now, don't beat yourself up when you get it wrong. Use it as a university classroom and use that to elevate your game to the next level. Oh, okay, here's what doesn't work in this situation. So now I need to go in another direction, right? And that's why we set up this virtual AP Leadership Academy, so that people like Ray can come on here and tell you how to get it done. Right. So let's keep going. So Ray, any unexpected surprises when you were new in there?
Yeah. So I took the job out at Riverhead, and like, you know, and for folks that are aspiring school leaders, and for folks that just got the job, right? I know it's a little late for you, a little late advice for you, but for folks that are aspiring, right, and that could be assistant principal, superintendent, really research where you're going, right? And also, when you're having these interviews with folks, interview them, right? It's not just about them interviewing you and you getting the job. It's about you interviewing them and you accepting the position, right? Because like folks got to understand that interviews are two-way things, right? And so I didn't ask the right questions when I came out on Long Island. I didn't ask like what was the staff dynamics, right? I didn't ask like, who are the major players, who do I need to talk to? All those questions that you need to ask the board prior to accepting a position. So like I looked at things from a peripheral view of seeing that, hey, students are performing, right? I looked at test scores, all the things that you look at in terms of like knowing where kids are and knowing how the situation can be. And so I based my decision based off of how students were performing, not necessarily how adults were performing. And that was a bad move. That was a bad decision, right? Because I had a lot of different opportunities across the states, and I landed on Long Island. I'm glad I did. God had a plan for me, but for folks that are aspiring to be leaders, make sure that you are doing two-way interviews and it's not just them interviewing you.
Wow, good stuff. Two-way interview. Look at Janine. She said, "I'm good. Only did a week on the job." And I'm listening. So she's new to leadership. I got these last two under this category, Ray. And these are not these could be a little bit funny, uncomfortable. Let's see where you go with it.
Yeah.
But again, it's for the benefit of folks listening. Was your school a different school because you let it?
100%. 100% a different school because of how I let it. And that goes two ways, right? So in the beginning, it was trending bad because of how I was leading it, right? It wasn't, I wasn't doing what I needed to do in order to connect with families, in order to connect with staff members, right? And so like it was high turnover because like, the vision that I had, I didn't properly convey what my vision was to staff members and to families, right?
Okay.
And so, we were still meeting our enrollment targets, but it still was like a lot of turnover. It was, and students were leaving us, right? I feel like once I became reflective in terms of like, what are my growth points? What do I need to do differently? How do I need to approach the work differently in order to make sure that our teachers are staying, our students are loving the education that they're receiving, and our families feel included, right? And so we're just coming off of the second 5-year renewal at the Riverhead Charter School, which is pretty amazing for a standalone charter school. So for folks that are listening and folks that are not from New York, 5 years is the maximum amount of time that a school can be renewed, a charter school can be renewed in New York State. And so for us to do that and not have a CMO behind us, like we're not a KIP, we're not any of those big name schools. It's just us doing the work. And then also, we have waiting to listen every grade now. And one of the things that we do, and that I pride our staff and our families on, is we don't advertise. Like,
Mm.
anything that's happening with us is word of mouth, right? And so our job is to make education for young people be so good to where folks are talking about it in the community, and we're able to do that.
I love it, and you answered my final on that category, so I don't need to ask it, but you gave me a good segue into where I'm going. The topic for today, I'm calling this "Leadership is Leadership, regardless of where it may occur." You happen to be a charter school leader, and you've been a charter school leader for a while at the principal level and superintendent level. So my question then is there a difference between leading in a traditional public school environment versus a public charter school environment? And if so, what might some of those differences be?
Woo! So, and thank you guys for coming and kicking it with us this morning. Because I'm all about being transparent when I'm with the OG, and so,
And folks, hit that share button for me and that retweet button, and hit them Facebook leadership groups as well. Donna share up, you probably did already, but if not, hit them up and let them know we are here. It's on you, Ray.
yeah. So, man, I feel like there's a lot of bureaucratic red tape that's associated with being in traditional public schools and being in a school district, right? There's a lot of things that those superintendents want to do that they can't, right? They're like handcuffed by a whole lot of things, a whole lot of obstacles that happen behind the scenes. There's a whole lot of politics that comes into play in terms of like being able to make the right decisions for kids, because it's like closing on a mortgage. If you're a superintendent in a public school district, you got to have everybody on the same, for you homeowners out there, you got to have everybody on the same page. You got to have the insurance people, the mortgage title people, the bank. You got to have everybody on the same page in order to close on the house. And the same thing with making a decision for young people in traditional public school districts, right? In a charter school, there's no red tape, right? You can just buy that house with cash. So like, you can go in, and if there's a curriculum item that's not working, then you can tweak it. If there's a staff member that's not in the best interest of students, you can move that staff member to be where they can be great, right? I feel like there's a lot of things that you can do in being in a charter school that allows you to focus on kids, right? But I don't want to let charter schools off the hook, because there's a lot of things that are happening in these charter schools in terms of like spirit dimming, in terms of like policing black and brown bodies, that I'm just not with, right? So I want to name that. So even though I love charter schools, I want to say I love all schools that perform well
Mhm.
for kids, right? And so, just because I'm a charter school leader or systems leader doesn't mean that I don't have healthy criticism for the work that we're doing. You need to have healthy criticism for all the systems that you're in. That's the only way we're going to get better.
Yeah, good stuff. So in that capacity, then, as a matter of fact, let me not go there yet. Let me go back to what you just said. Healthy criticism, right?
Yeah.
And see, some there's some people that don't want the criticism toward that which they're currently doing. And you took the position that no, I'm a charter school leader now. You've been in both worlds, but I'm going to offer that criticism wherever it is warranted, right?
Mhm.
So I just, again, I see that being as instructive for people who tune in for the PD of this platform, that criticism can be very healthy in terms of just where it is that we want to go, without creating barriers, creating walls. We're just talking about healthy critique, criticism of whatever it is that we want to change moving forward. So that's I just wanted to highlight that. Your role as superintendent, looking at your role as superintendent, true equity is a very important consideration. And people that know my work, particularly with the newer book, that's where my head is. It's been all this time, but it's particularly here now. True equity is an important consideration for leaders at all levels. So my question to you is, to that end, what do you do toward increasing the probability that each of your learners receive an equitable learning experience under your leadership?
Yeah. So I think one of the things that we do in staff development in the beginning of the year is that we define equity, right? Because like it may look different for some people, right? So like it looks different based off of what certain experiences are, right? And so I think that coming with a uniform definition of what equity is, and being able to like spread that message across the building to where like this is something that we developed as a team, and
Yeah.
this is what equitable practices are going to look like in our building, and then being able to hold each other accountable by the thing that we developed as a team, right? And so I feel like some of the things that can happen in charter schools is that you can do a curriculum audit at any point, right? So like you're not waiting until the end of the year in order to say, hey, is this curriculum healthy? Do Black and brown kids see themselves in this curriculum, right? You can go in and there's things that you can tweak and you can change in order to make sure that kids are seeing themselves in the curriculum, right? And I feel like we do a really good job at that. And when there's opportunities for us to be more robust in terms of like how we approach equity, we do it. And I feel like we do that by empowering teachers, right? So like that for those first couple of weeks of like, hey, what does equity look like for you? Now, what does equity look like for our kids? What does equity look like for our families, right? And then coming with that uniform approach allows them to feel more confident about creating lenses of equity for students.
Let's stay there because you said some stuff there that I want to stay there. This word equity, as you said, there's no universality in terms of meaning, and that can be problematic because you got teacher A went to the conference on equity and listened to XYZ speaker like myself. Teacher B went to the other conference and equity presenter ABC was there. And they both were talking equity, but it sounded very different. And then teacher C went to the other, read the equity book, right, and got something different. So now you got these three teachers who are gun ho on equity, but their interpretations of equity are very different. They're vastly different. So now, as leader, our first priority is probably to determine what does equity mean for our school. Not does equity, not what does it mean for the world, but how are we going to define it so that we've got uniformity, universality within the school, not in terms of practice per se, but what equity is, and therefore the aims as it relates to equity. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, so I think that's extremely important. Like you have to normalize these terms, right? And like, but I think beyond normalizing the terms, you also, folks have to embody that spirit of equity, right?
Yeah,
Because like if if it's just a word to you, then it's not going to take you far, right? And so it's like, what are you doing in your life? What are you doing in your practice to make your approaches to education, your approaches to students, your approaches to just the world to be more equitable, right? And so this it's always looking within, right? So that you have your mirror. I'm going to get me a mirror, just so you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
right? I'm going to get me a mirror, but it's always holding that mirror up and seeing what you can do in the lives of kids in order to make things more equitable.
You go to principalkafele.com, my main picture right there at the top. I'm standing at a podium just like this
Yes,
with a
sir.
blue mirror in my hand. That's what I do. And then you just said something else in terms of being equity. That's my thing, the distinction between doing equity and being equity. Doing equity is the skill of equity, but being equity is the will of equity. Doing equity is professional, but being equity is personal. So I make those distinctions. And when you walk in there, you got to be equity. But again, that definition has to be that concept of what equity is has to be defined before we start moving forward collectively as a staff. Ray, George Floyd's murder, and this was an abrupt shift, but George Floyd's murder, when it happened and folks took to the streets, they took to social media, it was just a national conversation going on, national outrage, protests, demonstrations, marches, even rebellion, all that took place. And I thought at the time, as I looked at it, I said, wow, so with all this happening into the streets, social justice is education is going to take off in the schools because that energy from young people, particularly adolescents, is going to come right into that school, and will the teacher be ready to address it as the youngsters bring that energy into the school across racial, ethnic lines, I might add. But school didn't reopen, and we went back virtual, so that energy never made its way into brick and mortar, and I believe social justice education took a back seat in far too many places. I was so optimistic about the prospects for the future in that regard, relative to school. So my question to you, what are your thoughts regarding the role of social justice education? Another one of those terms that's got a zillion different definitions, I might add. But what are your thoughts regarding the role of social justice education, and is social justice education in any form a part of your leadership repertoire?
Again, another great question, man. You're making me think.
I
Go ahead.
try, man. I try.
um, so, as a black man, experiencing having that George Floyd experience, it made me think that it could have been me, right? Like I'm a 6'3", 200 something pound black dude, right? And I show up different. Folks, when you're in a majority white town, people looking at you different. They're looking at you like you're aggressive, even though you could be a teddy bear, right? And so I'm always thinking about that. I'm thinking about my son. I'm thinking about my nephews. I'm thinking about, all of us that show up as black and well-meaning. But, society doesn't see us that way, right? And so that also transcends over to my students, right? Like we have students that, they show up, and, even the educators that are with them, a lot of times don't really know how to handle them and deal with them the right ways, right? And so then we get into this whole ideology of, we need to police black and brown bodies and minds, right? And so I think one of the reasons why I do this work is to prevent that, right? Is to make sure that, we're all getting a fair shake in terms of, like, whatever or however we show up, right? And so I'm really big on showing up as my authentic self. And so, on Thursday, I was in a meeting in Denver with a whole room full of superintendents, right? I won't name the districts of where folks are from, but I come in with my cut off jeans and my sweatshirt, right? There are folks in there that have suits on or whatever, right? And I know in their thinking, they could be like, oh, I was just young, whatever. But then as the words start coming out of my mouth and I start seeing people like, well, who is this guy, right? I realized that it's not about how you show up in the room. It's about how you handle yourself in that room.
That's right.
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 So
that's right. No, that's good stuff. I can picture that, because I tend to be authentic in a lot of places I go to, and I know exactly what you mean. I put this on the screen because I want us to handle this. Ryan Smith said, as a new administrator, how soon should change be made without disrupting the staff morale in the building? Let me just give my 2 cents and give it to you, Ray. Ryan, those things which are egregiously dysfunctional that you may have detected when you got there, you give those your attention. But a lot of the building, and I would say the bulk of what's happening in that building, fall back and just kind of learn the landscape of that building first. Because if you go in there trying to change every nook and cranny, trying to change everything abruptly, you may lose a lot of people, right? Because you do want to build a team, you want to build a family. So those things which are egregiously dysfunctional, you got to shift those immediately. But some other things that you may think you want to change, first, learn the building, learn your staff, learn your people, learn those young people. That's really your number one priority, to learn them as they get to learn you. And as they get to learn you and you learn them, and you're building a bond, you're building trust. Now when you start to change things, it's done with more acceptance because there's a trust in you. But first, get to know your people. As Luther Vandross used to say, I'm going to take my time singing these love songs. Well, take your time singing these love songs, right? That's what I'll call it. When I say I'm going to get to know my staff individually, I am thinking of Luther back when I used to see him in the 80s at Madison Square Garden, when he used to say, I'm going to take my time singing these love songs. Well, I'm going to take my time singing these love songs so I can build some love between me and my staff. And now change becomes that much easier. right?
OG, was that Skinny Luther or Big Luther?
That's Big Luther. You know, Skinny Luther don't sound the same as Big Luther, man. It's something missing there. That's Big Luther, man.
Yeah. So to that vein, I think that all school leaders should come in with a 30, 60, 90-day plan, right? And during that those first 30 days, you're observing, right? You are observing to find out exactly what's going on, and then I think during the 60s, that's when you're having one-on-one meetings with staff members, right? And so in those one-on-one staff meetings, one very important thing to ask the staff is where do you see yourself in 5 years, right? Because now you begin to see, like, the leadership trajectory of folks on your staff, how you could build a capacity of folks that are on your staff that eventually want to be leaders, and now you can include them in that plan that you have in order to build rapport with staff, right? Because again, folks want to feel like you're working with them.
That's right. That's right. And that key word is with them, right? Hey, Ray, American schools is not doing a good job of connecting with and properly educating Black boys. We're failing, right? I refer to educating Black boys as the biggest crisis and challenge in all of education. And that's just my opinion, but it's a very strong opinion that there's no bigger crisis, there's no bigger challenge than connecting with and properly educating Black boys. So my question to you is, what are we doing wrong? And what are your recommendations for moving forward so that we don't continue to lose such a large number of our young men?
So again, great question, man. I feel like this is becoming PD for me. So, folks, if you listen, man, make sure that you sharing, resharing, make sure that you
Right.
are writing things down, taking notes or whatever, because we definitely are teaching some things today. So I think one of the things that's missing from schools in general, right, is that we come in with all of the answers. Right, like, oh, I'm a Black man, so I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna tell you everything about Black boys. When I don't know anything about Black boys, the only thing that I know about is myself, right? And so the only real way that we can kind of address the needs of Black boys is to ask them what they need,
Mm.
right? Because when we're thinking about, all of the stakeholders, right? I feel like, I break these things down to like 33.3% educators, then parents, and then students, right? They are a part of their educational plan. And a lot of times, when we go in and we make these plans, it's 66.6% of involvement, and we always leave the students out. And so in order to change things for Black boys, we got to ask Black boys what they need. Like,
Mm.
hey, what's going to bring you to school every day? What's going to motivate you to want to be here? What do you need to see from your educators for you to know that they care?
Mm.
Right? That they care about you, to where they're creating an environment of safety, an environment that wants you to be at school, an environment that yields for opportunities for you to learn and be the best that you can be, right? And that comes with asking them what they need, not telling them what they need. One more time, you
Yeah.
got to ask these young people what they need. You can't tell them what they need, because they're gonna tell you to go somewhere.
Yeah. And I mean, and you make a solid point, Matt, because I'm as you said that, I'm thinking about somebody approaching me and telling me what I need in whatever capacity of life. Like first, you may have great advice for me, but ask me first where I'm coming from, right? And then based on my response, you may know how to reply to that, as opposed to you coming in with the answers and you don't know my problem, right? So I love what you say, love it, love it. Whether it be traditional, public school, public charter school, parochial school, private school, whatever kind of school a young person is going to go to, one of the things that's prevalent across all of them is this absence of Black men. right? Which is why you have that T-shirt on today. We need black teachers, and particularly we need them black men less than 2%, right? That's the common thread to wherever we're talking about, unless it's a school, an African-centered school, and they hired black men. But I know of plenty of African-centered schools that do not have all black teachers. And I also know of a lot of black male schools that don't have black men in the classroom, or a minimal number, because the problem is still there. So my question to you then is, where are these men? Because we know they were born, right? So where are they as it relates to school, and how do we get them into our schools?
Right. So that's a really good question, and that is definitely a research conundrum
Yeah,
right now. I
right.
think that number is about 1.7% of teachers writ large that identify as black men, and so I think one of the concerns is that a lot of these folks are first generation college students, right? And so when they graduate from college, they are the first was a lot of times uh, the first person to graduate from college. And
Mm,
so when you graduate from college, there's a lot of societal expectations that are put on you by your family,
mm,
right? So like, they are supposed to go out and make a lot of money because they went to college, right? And so by going out and getting these jobs, a lot of folks are then become like the pocketbook for their families, right? So like, there's things that are occurring in our community, and it's like, all right, well, who do I go to? I go to the only person that graduated from college that's in a middle class situation, right? And so a lot of times, you'll see that type of pressure that's put on black men that graduate from college. But I think also, and we were talking about this, there's got to be some ways that we can like think outside of the box in terms of putting black men in the classroom. So it's like, if you have an engineer, right? Why can't that engineer teach one block of algebra, right? And so, in terms of like thinking outside of the box on how to bring black males into education without, with so so to think, right, and even thinking more critical about what I just said. If you have an engineer that works 9 to 5, right? Why can't we create asynchronous opportunities in order for them to, record lessons, right, and then bring those lessons into the classroom for young people, right? So there's a lot of things that we can do in terms of like, thinking outside of the box. But then also, one of the things, and folks don't want to hear this, you got to pay people, right? Like you have to pay people.
yeah.
And so, if we're paying black men, paying teachers in general a salary that they can live off of, right? That's one thing. But then also, for black men that leave education, a lot of them leave education because it's a lot of pressure that's put on them. And when I say this, I really mean this. When I went to the job fair to initially become a teacher,
Hmm.
I had things said to me like, "Oh, well, he looks like he can handle the kids,"
Hmm.
or those kids ain't gonna try him, right? And black men want to be looked at as scholars, right? Like I want to be looked at like, hey, I'm more than just a gym teacher. I'm more than just a dean. Not no disrespect to any gym teachers, no disrespect to any deans, but like we can do any position, right? And I think that once society starts looking at us like, hey, we're science teachers, we're social studies teachers, we're math teachers, we're physics teachers, like and things of that nature, that's when folks will start gravitating towards being educators. Education used to be revered, man. I remember, there were times when I walked in my community, when I walked by my teacher's house, right? Like there's a certain level of respect that we have for those teachers. I don't think that exists anymore.
And one of the things that I'm really passionate about, and I posted about this last week, I think, and someone just told me that they shared it. Growing your own, because
Yes.
see, my thing is America's next teachers are sitting in these classrooms, but who's tapping into them? What I did was I said I need to know who in this building, when I was a high school principal, who wants to be a teacher one day, even if you had a fleeting thought. I went on the PA and said, anybody in this building has ever thought about being a teacher, report to my office. Man, I couldn't even fit all them kids. We had to go up to the cafeterias. It was over 100 kids that showed up, and
Yes.
I created a club, North Tech Future Teachers, and a lot of them, they teach now. My biggest regret to leaving my principalship is that a lot of them kids that were in that club I created are now secondary teachers. Some are elementary as well. And I could have hired some of them. I mean, I don't know that life gets any better as a leader when you got a percentage of your staff that were your students.
Yes.
I mean, what could be better than that? And not only are they your students, but you introduced them to it, you know, through a club that you led, right? So that's my biggest regret to leaving my practice. But the point is, those future teachers are sitting, those future Black male teachers are sitting right in those classrooms, and so many of them have never been tapped into, or they've been told that education is not the place to be. So they've been turned off by it, by somebody significant in their lives, their teacher, right? So all that paradigm has to shift, and we got to tap into them. I would say beginning in probably late elementary school, right, and start growing our own and partnering with these universities like some have done, so that when they graduate, they come right back to the district, right?
Yep. Yep.
You-
So I had so for my eighth graders, we do a little step up ceremony, and one year we had a former a former student come back and give the keynote for the eighth grade step up ceremony. His name is Josh, right? And he said, Mr. Ankrum, I'm going to college, right? And I'm going to college to be a math teacher, and when I come back, you know, I want to work here. He kind of put me on the spot, and so I said to him, I said, Josh. I said, when you come back, I got a job for you, right? And where is Josh right now? Josh is an algebra 2 geometry teacher at my school, right? And so, you know, you can't be it if you can't see it. Somebody said it in the audience, you can't be it if you can't see it. And so, you know,
That's it.
We got to see ourselves.
And like Lewis just said, and someone else said the same thing, schools have to give Black men that opportunity. I hate being viewed as a disciplinarian or a person who gets the lowest performing students every year. You treat me as a teacher, period.
Yes.
Right. Don't look, you know, you 6'3", I'm 6'1". Don't have me come in there and you see my size and therefore I'm this disciplinarian. No, I got a brain. I got intelligence. You know, I'll go as far as I'm brilliant. Right. I have more to offer.
I love it.
Yeah. than to read a referral and make a decision as far as consequences. Right. So, you know, I love your Twitter page, and you got, you put a lot of stuff, you and the 8 Black Hands, which we're going to talk about. But you tweeted this week, you said, in quote, "Of course, we need the teaching field to be more diverse, particularly more Black, brown, and indigenous teachers. But we also need the right teachers. Not just anyone can teach." I want to ask you, does that same principle apply when you say not anyone can teach? Can we apply that to it? Does that apply to leadership? Not everyone can lead. What are your thoughts?
That's a really good question. So, man, I don't think everybody can lead, right? I don't think everybody can lead. I don't think that just because you're a good teacher means that you're gonna be a good leader, right? I think that some people need to stay in the classroom, right, and be good teachers in the classroom. Just because you've experienced success in the classroom does not mean that you're going to experience success outside of the classroom, right? But for those folks that go into leadership and want to improve on being leaders, right? Because everybody doesn't start off as a good leader, right? You emerge and you immerse yourself in literature and the work, and you become good. You have to do a lot of critical analysis of who you are as a leader, right? And then you have to start hiring folks to do the things that you're not good at. So it's a difference. It's a difference, right? It's a difference. You can hire people to do things that you don't like to do, or you can hire people to do things that you don't know how to do, right? If you're hiring people to do things that you don't like to do, then you trash. But if you're hiring people to do things that you don't know how to do, then it makes you a reflective leader, because now you're working with people that can teach you how to do those things that you don't know how to do.
That's right. I'm a guy, you know, as a rookie, I could never, because I didn't know better. I didn't have the wisdom in my 30s yet, where I couldn't admit to anybody, I don't know how, I can't do this, I'm not good at that, you know, whatever it is. But as experience as I gained experience and wisdom began to kick in, then I was able to go to staff and say, look, I can't do this. And the main thing I talk about on this platform from time to time, master scheduling. That's not my thing. I can't I don't have a problem saying to you all in the context of what you just said, I can't do that. My brain don't work that way, right? But I got other smart people on staff who are teachers.
Yes.
Who can do, they're scheduling whizzes. They can just knock it out overnight and it's done, where it took me a whole summer back when I was a middle school principal before it was automated and it was these little boxes and you moving around. That's not my thing. My brain don't work linear like that. So now, consistent with what you said, I need people with me who can do what I can't do, right? Or who can do and do it effectively what I don't want to do, so that I can devote my energy to those things I do best, such as instructional leadership. That's where that's at. You know, and I put Raquel back up here because she put earlier that she just got that new position. So I want to formally congratulate you, Raquel. And there was another one, and it got caught up in the thread, so I don't know where it is. But all of you that are posting that you got these new jobs, congratulations. Hey, Ray, I got two more. So folks out there, hang in here. We got two more, then we go to rapid fire. Those 21 rapid fire questions. So Ray, I can't leave you without talking about the pandemic. In what ways is leading in the midst of a pandemic changed or altered the way that you lead?
So I think it takes me back to just preparation, right? Like I feel like a lot of folks that didn't succeed through the pandemic weren't properly prepared for it, right? I think one of the things that we did, and shout out to Riverhead Charter School, is that we invested in our infrastructure, right? Like I got with my CFO and I was like, hey, what can we do? Right. And so we made sure that we were able to invest in our infrastructure by getting Chromebooks in hands of students, right? Going into the second year of the pandemic, a lot of people thought that they were going to be back in the building, right? And so they didn't take that time during professional development time in order to give folks feedback, healthy feedback on what online instruction looks like, right? So like they didn't invest in their infrastructure. We did. And I think that you have to be intentional about the type of instruction that you want students to receive. And we're looking at this now, like I'm constantly talking to administrators because you got monkeypox out here, you got BA4, BA5, you just don't know. And so although we want students to be in person and be in seats, we don't know. And so you have to continue to invest in your infrastructure. You got to continue to develop the leaders that you want, and how you want them to approach the work.
Love it. Tashara Smith King, inbox me, please. You've been dropping some stuff this whole session. I need you on my list of future guests. So Tashara Smith King, just send me an inbox so I can get your information. And I need to put you on my list of future guests because I see you've been doing this, and you apparently you're doing it at a high level. Because I've been reading everything you've been writing, so you seem to be somebody that this platform can benefit from. So again, drop me something in the inbox so I can get you on my list. All right, let's go. I got one more. We going into a new school year. 2020, 22, 23 is around the corner. Ray, what advice do you have for the audience that typically watches this? We got principals on here, we got APs on here, we got aspiring folks on here, but we also have some soups in assistant soups, but primarily those APs. What advice do you have for my audience moving forward into a new school year in the present climate that we find ourselves?
Yeah. So I think, this school year, we need to make this the year of the child, right? The year of the child. Everybody, if you don't have a mantra yet, if you're going into professional development, go ahead and just make it the year of the child. And so you're doing everything in the center on kids, center on young people and what they need, right? Not thinking about any other needs except the needs of young people. Looking at this NWEA research, right? And I don't know what folks expected. Right. I don't know if folks expected for there to be post-pandemic learning growth. Right. But I don't think I think that those expectations are you couldn't really expect that. And so, for kids to be performing years behind now. Again, the focus has to be on the child. We got to start thinking about, thinking critically about how to use data in order to properly get kids where they need to be, given the fact that, some of our kids are years behind. And then also bringing families in and having those conversations with families in order to build their capacity, right? Because like a lot of learning happens not just in school, but it happens outside of school. And so we now have to empower parents in order to bring in community-based organizations and bring this thing back to being a village, right? Like it's no longer a village anymore, but if we can recommit to a village raising a child, then I feel like, this could really be the year of the child.
Yeah. The year of the child. Y'all hear that out there? A mindset. You think about you lead children anyway. But I'm saying what I'm hearing from Ray is this mindset, this focus, this intentionality, this purpose that under my leadership, this is the year of the child. Placed under that equity umbrella, this is the year of each individual in that building, right? This is their year. That's a great mindset to take into a new school year. I appreciate that, Ray. Let's jump into them rapid fire. One sentence, one word answer. One word or one sentence max answer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's it.
Let me get my breathing. Let me get my breathing right for this. One more time, folks. If you're in the audience, we need black teachers.
Black teachers. And then Sharif, I don't know if you're out there, if you see the video later, man, I need one of them shirts before I take this cruise, man. So here we go. Ray, is education on the right path for underserved children?
Absolutely not.
Can true equity occur in America's schools for Black, brown, and other underserved students?
In the right schools.
Does Ray Ankrum's work contribute to the progress we desperately need?
Yes, sir.
If you could do a reset on your life, would your line of work be different or the same?
Same.
Why do you continue to do this work?
I love Black people.
What fires you up within the work that you do?
Black boys.
What do you love about the work you do?
That my daughter is in my school.
What do you dislike about the work that you do?
Hard decisions that are anti-kid.
Sounds like the politics of education, and so many people saying that question. What has been your greatest victory in this work to date?
Being able to wake up and do it every day.
What was your greatest mistake in this work?
Not listening to the people that I needed to listen to.
And what has been your greatest challenge in this work?
Not being reflective at the beginning part of my career.
Are you proud of your first year as an administrator?
No.
Who inspires you in the work that you do?
You, sir.
Oh, man. I appreciate the love, man. Appreciate it. What are you reading right now? Book, blog, article, anything?
I'm dissertating, so I'm just immersing myself in literature.
Wow. Okay. When as a sidebar, when you looking to be done?
I'm trying to defend by December, but
I hear you.
Yeah.
What book might you recommend to our viewers?
Chinua Achebe, Things Fall Apart.
There you go. Yeah, that's a good one. I ain't heard that one in a while. What do you want to accomplish that you haven't accomplished yet?
Probably a CMO in a state that needs me.
Are you satisfied with where you are professionally right now?
No.
What could you say to a viewer out there who continues to face closed doors?
Keep pushing.
What could you say to a viewer out there who's lost their fire?
keep pushing.
And if Ray Ankrum was, this is the final one, if Ray Ankrum was a word in a dictionary, what would be your definition?
Black excellence.
Oh, there you go. There you go. I love it, man. You did it. You did it right. A lot of people struggle with this, but you did it right. I love your answers. And as I say, when folks do it right with the entire conversation, you hit it out the park, man.
Yes, sir. Let's go.
Slam. You did it Josh Gibson style, man. You hit it out 800 some odd home runs, man. More than Babe Ruth ever dreamed about hitting, right? Back during the Negro League. So good job. Hey, folks, if Ray brought that flame, that fire, hit them up in the chat and let them know. Put them fire emojis, them bombs. Oh, it's coming. Y'all did it before I even asked you. Them hand claps, all that kind of stuff, them hearts, whatever it is you use. Please let them know. We always want to let the guests know that we appreciate what you bring. Hey, Ray, I'm sure it's a lot of people out there that want to get in touch with you. How do they go about doing so?
Hey, I'm on the Bird app under @Mr. Ankrum. That's @MR_ANKRUM. Follow me on the Bird app. Also, we have our podcast on Sunday night. That is the 8 Black Hands podcast. OG, you are regular on Sunday nights. Yeah. 8 Black Hands podcast, and then also my other podcast, 3 Times Dope podcast, and then also we have a principles podcast that's associated with principles, and that is the Engage podcast.
Love it, man. You're getting a lot of fire and hearts and all that stuff, man. People appreciate what you offered today. But let me say again, the 8 Black Hands, that's Sunday nights at 9 Eastern. Just go to Facebook or YouTube and write 8 Black Hands, and it'll be right there. And I watch this thing. My wife's literally standing right here. Every Sunday I'm on. I just love watching. It's 4 very different kind of guys. They're different, meaning different from each other. No 2 of these four men are the same. They're very different in the way they gel on the platform. You got to get on there and check them out. You've seen another one, Sharif El-Mekki was on here earlier in the year, but you got to check this out. During the football season, it'd be a big game on, but I got it's like the TV over here, and I got you guys right in front of me, man. So it's good stuff. Good stuff. It seemed like I think y'all came on Super Bowl Sunday too.
We did.
Yeah, you came on Super Bowl Sunday. So Ray, man, I appreciate you, and everybody appreciates you. Before everybody leaves, hang on for a minute. Let me let you know the rundown. Next week, 10:55, I'll be on with my man, former Chicagoland principal, education consultant, currently an author, Dr. Don Parker. He's going to be my guest, so tune in every Saturday, 10 o'clock. Principal Sean Hurt. This is all Facebook Live. Create and Educate with Principal Tammy Taylor and Dr. Sheikah Houston at 10:30. Unlock the Middle with my man, Josh Tovar and Dean Packard at 7 o'clock Eastern on Sunday night. And then Village Leadership Group with Dr. Roz Gaskins and Coach Williams on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 6. Once again, these are the 2 that coincide with the platform, the Assistant Principal 50, the Aspiring Principal 50. If you don't have them, get your hands on it. I'm working on starting September volume 2, 3, and 4 over the next 3 years. So we're gonna go Jawanza Kunjufu style and have 4 volume set, right? Like he did with Countering the Conspiracy to Destroy Black Boys, and then of course the Equity and Social Justice Education 50. Subscribe to the Virtual AP Leadership Academy YouTube channel. Hit that red button and subscribe. Like and follow the Virtual AP Leadership Academy Facebook page, because as you know, I write a commentary every Sunday morning. I think I'm up to 73 of those now, but every Sunday morning before 10 o'clock a.m., I write a commentary of my thoughts on something that emanated out of the Saturday session. So make sure that you're reading those as well. And then lastly, your diet. As I say for 117 weeks now, don't sleep on your diet, especially those of you up there in my age category. I'm in my 60s, so don't sleep on that diet. The way you used to eat, you're going to have to make some shifts, man. We in that bracket now, right? So you're going to have to make some shifts. Your exercise, man, I can't tell you the number of times in hotel rooms, I want to be in bed, but it's 11 and 12 o'clock midnight, and I'm on a treadmill, man. I could just rationalize in my head, I'll go to bed. You got to bring your best you to that audience tomorrow. Yeah, but I had a heart attack. So I got to make sure that I'm doing that exercise. So I get it done. Regardless of the time, I'm going to get it done. It may not be 40 minutes, 50 minutes. It might be 20 minutes because it's so late at night, but I'm going to get it done, right? So make sure you get it done. And lastly, your COVID precautions. Yeah, I don't like wearing the mask, but when I jump on that airplane, I put it on. When I'm around a crowded spaces, I put it on, man. I ain't trying to give you nothing, and I don't want nothing from you. So make sure you're taking care of yourself. So with that said, Ray, stay with me when I end. Have a great week. Have an extraordinary week. Have your best week yet. I'll be in 5 states this week. Maybe I'll see some of y'all when I'm out there. Peace. Peace. Thumbs up. Cock that fist back. 1, 2, 3. Bam!
Let's go.
That's it, man. Let's go. Bam! Let's go, y'all. I'll see you next Saturday at 10:55.